All right, welcome to another deep dive. You know how this works? You send us your research and we jump in head first.
Always exciting to see what folks are digging into.
And you've sent us some fascinating stuff on, well, teacher training.
Hmm.
Specifically how universities and schools are trying to, I guess, work together,
Yeah.
to get future teachers really ready for the classroom.
Yeah, essential stuff. There's so much at stake there.
Huge. And you were really curious about, well, there's this term, hybrid spaces, that popped up a bunch in your research. And we're going to unpack that for sure.
I'm intrigued. I do a lot of work with, teacher education programs, and that idea of hybrid spaces is really gaining traction.
Yeah, well, lucky for us, we've got you here to help us make sense of it all.
Happy to help connect the dots.
Awesome. Now, from what I gathered, you're really interested in making PE teacher training, more effective.
Absolutely. There's this age-old problem. It's like reading a textbook about swimming, right? You can memorize every stroke, every technique.
Right, but until you're actually in the water.
Exactly. Until you feel the water, the resistance, you're not really learning to swim.
Makes total sense. So is that what these hybrid spaces are all about? Like bridging that gap between, well, theory and reality?
That's a great way to put it. It's about acknowledging that the university, with all its lectures and theories, is only one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, but I mean, do we just chuck the textbooks out the window then?
Not quite. It's about finding a balance, weaving theory into practice. From day one.
So less time in the lecture hall, more time, I guess, in actual classrooms
Mm,
with kids.
exactly. Think about it. We want teachers graduating not just with knowledge, but the confidence to actually apply it. That comes from experience.
Yeah, confidence is huge. Okay, so this hybrid spaces thing sounds good in theory, but where can we actually see it in action? You mentioned a case study in your notes.
Ah, yes. We're going to look at this really interesting primary physical education teacher education program. It's based in the UK. They're doing some truly innovative stuff.
Okay, physical education, teacher education. So we're talking about what? Training teachers to specifically teach PE.
That's right. And it's more specialized than you might think. This program actually got an outstanding rating from Ofsted.
Now, for those of us not up on UK education lingo, what does that even mean? Outstanding Ofsted. Is that like,
Think of Ofsted as the UK's education watchdog. Very rigorous, very high standards. So an outstanding from them is a really big deal.
so like top of the class?
Exactly. This program isn't just meeting standards, it's exceeding them.
Impressive. All right, so back to this program. What makes it so unique?
Well, for starters, they focus specifically on preparing primary school teachers who are like PE specialists.
Huh. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, right? You need someone who knows PE to teach PE. But
You'd be surprised. It's actually pretty rare, even in places like Australia where PE is, a big deal.
interesting. So these aren't just generalist teachers who, were expected to teach a bit of everything.
Nope. This program is all about creating specialists, teachers who are confident and competent in teaching PE.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this ties into the whole hybrid spaces idea and, well, those challenges you mentioned earlier, like generalist teachers, not feeling confident teaching PE.
Right. This program tackles those issues head on.
So how do they do it? What's the secret sauce?
Partnerships. Big time. We're talking about teacher educators at the university teaming up with local schools, even international schools. They also work with, community groups like outdoor education centers, swimming associations.
So it's not just the university, like off in its own little world.
Not at all. They're deeply embedded in the community, which is a key part of this hybrid space model.
And I see here you were really interested in those community partnerships.
Yeah, they're fascinating. Like, they even have this annual outdoor education camp that's funded by the university. It's this amazing example of how these partnerships can really create some pretty unique learning experiences.
Definitely. Okay, so paint me a picture. What does this collaboration look like in action?
Well, for example, pre-service teachers, they get hands-on experience working with children right at the university's PE center.
So no more just sitting in lecture halls, taking notes. They're actually, out there doing it.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Teachers from those local schools, they actually come to observe these sessions at the university.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a one-way street, the university teaching the teachers.
Not at all. Some of those teachers even participate, as part of their own professional development.
That's brilliant. Everyone's learning, everyone's growing. But I mean, managing all those connections, the university, the schools, all these different groups, that sounds like a logistical.
It's a lot to juggle, for sure.
So how do they make it work?
Well, one of the keys is that the teacher educators at the university, they all have, extensive teaching experience in primary schools themselves.
Oh, so they've been there, done that?
Exactly. They're not just academics who've, never set foot in a real elementary school classroom.
Right. They get
They
it.
understand the challenges and they can really build those relationships with schools, based on mutual respect and shared experience.
So it's not just like we're the university and we know best.
Not at all. It's more like a partnership. Everyone's on the same level.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I bet the schools appreciate that too.
They do. And speaking of respect, another thing that really impressed me about this program was how they view pre-service teachers.
Oh yeah. How so?
They treat them like equals, like fellow teachers. It's this real sense of shared purpose and collaboration.
I love that. Instead of that kind of top-down, hierarchy, it's more like everyone's voice matters.
Exactly. Everyone's in this
And
together.
I bet that creates a much more positive and, I guess, productive learning environment.
It really does. And the results, speak for themselves.
Well, you mentioned that outstanding Ofsted rating. What other evidence did you find that this program is, actually working?
Well, they have incredibly high student satisfaction scores, like on national surveys, for example. 99% of the students in this program agreed that the staff were good at explaining things.
99%. Wow. That's got to be some kind of record.
It's pretty impressive, for sure.
So what do you think is driving those scores? Is it just the hands-on experience, or are there, other things at play here?
Well, the external examiners who reviewed the program, they highlighted a few key factors.
Like what?
The program's coherence, meaning everything is well integrated and connected, the strong emphasis on hands-on learning, and of course, those robust partnerships with schools and the community.
It sounds like they've really nailed that blend of theory and practice that you described earlier.
They have, and another indicator of their success is the program's popularity. They have far more applicants than spots available each year.
Wow, so people are like clamoring to get in.
Clearly word has gotten out that this is a high-quality program that prepares future teachers effectively.
That's awesome. But, we can't talk about successful programs without acknowledging the challenges.
Right.
I mean, every program has its hurdles.
Of course, and this one is no exception.
So what are some of the, I guess, the bumps in the road they've encountered?
Well, funding is a big one. Recent cuts to school, sports, partnerships, and research grants in the UK. Those threaten the sustainability of these innovative programs.
Ugh, it's so frustrating. It's like those short-sighted budget cuts always seem to target the very programs that are making a real difference.
It is frustrating. And this program also highlights another challenge that you touched on in your research.
Yeah? What's that?
The fact that many generalist teachers just lack confidence in teaching PE.
It's almost like we accept that you need specialized training to teach math or science, right? But for some reason, PE often gets treated like something anyone can do.
Right. It's like, oh, you played sports in high school. You can teach PE.
It's so strange when you think about it. Why do you think that is?
It's a complex issue, but part of the problem is that most primary teacher training programs include very little PE instruction.
So you have these new teachers entering the field with, very limited knowledge and confidence in teaching PE, and then it just perpetuates the cycle.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle.
And if schools aren't, prioritizing PE or providing adequate training and support, then teachers won't feel equipped to teach it well, and then the subject just continues to be seen as less important.
Right. It's this whole system that needs to change.
And another challenge you mentioned in your research was that not all schools even prioritize hiring PE specialists.
That's right. And, while a coach might be great at teaching the technical aspects of a sport, they might not have the teaching skills to create an inclusive and engaging learning environment for all students.
Yeah, it's a different skill set for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So this program is kind of tackling that issue head on by producing, highly qualified PE specialists.
Exactly. And those specialists can then advocate for the subject within their schools.
Because they have the knowledge and the confidence to back it up.
Precisely. They're not just teaching PE, they're empowering future teachers to be advocates for the importance of physical literacy and high-quality PE instruction.
It's like they're creating a movement.
That's a great way to put it.
So this program is really hitting on all the points you're curious about. Tackling those systemic issues, fostering collaboration, creating these rich learning experiences for pre-service teachers. It's pretty inspiring.
It is inspiring. And while, not every program will have the same resources or advantages as this one, there are still valuable lessons to be learned from their approach.
Absolutely. So for those of us who are, intrigued by this model, but maybe don't have access to all the same resources, what are some key takeaways we can glean from this case study?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways, I think, is the importance of, experienced teacher educators.
So not just someone who's like read a lot of books about teaching, but someone who's actually been in the trenches.
Exactly, people who are passionate about their subject, who have a deep understanding of the, school context and are really committed to building those strong relationships with schools.
They're kind of like the bridge between the university and the schools,
Yeah.
right? Making sure the program is really grounded in the realities of the classroom.
That's a great way to put it. And another key takeaway, I think, is the importance of collaboration and shared purpose.
Yeah, you talked a lot about that.
This program really emphasizes creating those opportunities for meaningful interaction, between the university, schools, and the community.
It sounds like everyone feels like they're a part of something bigger.
Right. Everyone feels like they have a stake in the program's success, and that's, something that any program can strive for, regardless of their resources.
Thinking back to all those challenges we talked about earlier,
Mm.
this program seems to be, creating a ripple effect by empowering those future teachers to become advocates for PE.
And that advocacy is crucial for addressing those, systemic issues we talked about, like the lack of understanding about PE's importance and the reliance on unqualified coaches.
So they're not just like going into schools and teaching PE. They're actually trying to change the system.
Exactly. They're going out there and changing the game.
It's like they're planting seeds of change, that will hopefully blossom into a more holistic and inclusive approach to physical education.
I love that analogy. It's not just about teaching kids how to play sports. It's about fostering a lifelong love of movement and, understanding the importance of physical literacy for their overall well-being.
Totally. And it makes you wonder what other fields could benefit from this hybrid space approach, right? I mean, where else could we see that seamless blending of, university knowledge and real-world experience?
Oh, the possibilities are endless. Imagine applying this model to fields like, nursing, social work, engineering, really any profession where practical skills and hands-on experience are essential.
That's such a thought-provoking question for our listeners to consider. What fields are, ripe for this kind of transformation?
Imagine future lawyers, getting real-world experience in legal clinics throughout their education, or aspiring architects designing and building structures alongside seasoned professionals.
It's all about bridging that gap between theory and practice, right? Creating a more dynamic and uh, engaging learning experience.
Absolutely. And ultimately, it's about producing graduates who are truly prepared to, make a difference in their chosen fields.
Well, I think we've successfully navigated the depths of this fascinating topic. We've explored the challenges facing traditional teacher education, the exciting potential of hybrid spaces, and we even got a glimpse into that innovative program in the UK that's leading the charge.
It's been a really insightful dive.
It has. A huge thank you to you for lending your expertise to this deep dive.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about this stuff.
And to all of you listening out there, thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We hope this exploration has, sparked some new ideas and a deeper understanding of how these hybrid spaces can really revolutionize education. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.